Hi, my name is Davin, and this is a series where we talk about what goes into making the show Silver Cord, and specifically talk to the people who are involved in making the teaser. And I want to introduce you to my longtime friend, Mr. Dave Lamb. How you doing, Dave?
I'm doing good.
Good. Dave, tell everyone, what is it that you do in this world?
So I'm a cinematographer. I
Mhm.
am the head of the camera and lighting department
Right.
for shoots. Yeah.
And we use, is it just a Canadian term? We use director of photography a lot, but is
I
that
think it's
like
universal. It goes either
universal?
way. Yeah.
Okay, so tell everyone a little bit about that. Like on a regular film shoots or on one of the many web series that we've done, what's kind of in the daily routine of a cinematographer?
So daily, I guess, should I start from the beginning, like when we start the project?
Yeah.
I guess we go on scouts and we read the scripts and we read what we need to do and what we need to prep for the shoot.
Hmm.
Um, we'll we'll assess the location and see what the script needs in specific lightings or where I can place lights or where the camera can go. We'll talk to the director about the look, the feel we want, the mood.
Yeah.
How dark is too dark, how light is too light, things
Hmm.
like that. Camera moves. Yep.
Right. So tell me, like, when the camera is like picking a particular way to look at a scene, is that typically falling in your camp, or is that typically falling into the director's camp, or what's the kind of give and take between you and a director on how the camera actually moves through a scene?
So it's actually different with every director.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, I try to fulfill as best as I can to what the director wants. Um, so that's a tough question. That's a
Yeah. Do some
yeah.
directors just say like, "Go to it and show me something nice," or
Yeah, sometimes they
yeah,
just say that, and I'll show them what they want, or show them what I think looks nice, and then they'll say, "Yeah, that's great." Or they'll have something very specific in mind, and like, we want this angle, and I want this shot for specific heroic shot, or like a VFX. Something's very specific.
right? And sometimes you're running the camera, and sometimes you're not, right?
Hmm.
What do you like to do? Do you like to have your hands on the actual camera and be pointing at things, or do you prefer to have a little bit of a bird's eye view?
I love operating.
Hmm.
I love having the camera in my arms, in my hands, and seeing it, being on set and seeing what's going on. That way, I can also like tweak lights on the fly, and if we need to do something quick, I'm there and I can command it.
Yep.
Though being a DP that's just behind the monitor, it's kind of nice because I notice a little bit of everything. But personally, I think I'd rather be behind the camera, like on
Yeah.
set, holding a camera. Yeah.
I've always noticed the DPs when they sit behind a monitor. There's something about them, something about the way they dress. They'll have a beret or smoke a pipe or always have like a pink coffee mug or something. What's your thing? What's the Dave Lamb thing?
I always wear hats.
Hmm.
That's one thing. What else do I do? That's when I just sit behind a monitor. I'll probably always have a coffee in hand.
Yeah,
That's
coffee in hand's pretty good.
yeah.
So speaking to people that would bring you coffee, take me through your team because I don't think most people have any sense of like how many people are involved in managing a camera. So take me through
Yeah.
the people that are on a set working with a camera.
So we have a camera operator.
Hmm.
That's the person obviously operating the camera. They'll sometimes choose which lens to use if there's multiple cameras, and they'll just delegate their camera. For each camera there's a first assistant camera who pulls focus for that camera and is kind of in charge of that camera, like making sure it keeps running, making sure the media is good, the batteries are good, and making sure it's fresh and ready to go. And then there's a second AC assistant camera who is taking the clapper thing and marking, which
Yeah,
syncs
yeah.
the sound.
Everyone knows that, right? The
Yeah.
old sk. Yeah.
So they do that. They also take notes, camera notes, and log all the if there when there was film, they log how much film we had left or how much we need. They also load the film mags if there was film, and they also book things. So they'll book if we need anything that's missing. They'll
Hmm.
schedule things to. They'll call the rental houses and book it all. They'll also book any additional labor we might need
Yep.
if we need additional camera operators for the day or something. They'll book them.
Right.
And then there's a trainee who just helps like shuffle things around as well and gets coffee for me.
Yeah. So it's
well,
pretty amazing. Like for every camera on set, there's like four people involved in just running that camera.
Yeah, yeah, and there's also the DIT actually,
Right, which is
who
digital information technologist?
uh, digital imaging
Digital
tech,
image. Okay,
who will color the footage live on location, who
right.
will give us a look and like if I see something that's too bright, we can bring it down on the day and fix it before it
Yeah.
becomes a problem. Yeah.
Now, well, you've done a whole bunch of stuff. You've done like TV shows, that have like, nice bright lighting. I think you've done some commercials. You've done stuff for me where we've experimented with kind of like playing with darker lighting, more dramatic lighting. It's been kind of running the gamut. What do you like to do? Do you like these kind of experimental, trickier pieces, or do you like when people are throwing money at you and you can get a million lights and it just like looks like Hollywood movie?
I
What's your
love the experimental stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I love going dark as we can without being too dark.
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, it's always a fight with everyone always wants it bright and cheery for the most of the things I shoot,
Yeah.
but for the most part, I wanna make it moody and play with shadows.
Well, Moody and Shadows is a pretty good segue then to talk about this specific project and this trailer. So you were the DOP for the Silver Cord shoot for the 2 days that we were there in this little room. Take me through some of the process if you remember it. What was kind of the first things that you remember you and I talking about, or the first things you saw? What started to get the wheels turning on how you were going to shoot this thing?
So I think I remember you sent me a previs.
Right, and tell people what a previs is.
So a previs is kind of like an animation or like or you can even shoot it on your iPhone. Anything to kind of do like a shot list that's already that we shoot on a phone without actually being on location, without the lighting, without anything fancy. It's just like seeing what we're going to see on the actual film,
Right.
real gritty. In this case, I think it was drawings.
Yeah, a lot of stick figures. Yeah.
Yeah. So she showed me a previs, and then we ended up talking about having a jib
Mm-hmm.
and shooting it all in one location.
Yeah.
Like all in just one studio.
And a
There's a lot of
jib is
movement.
an arm, right? So
It's an arm that the camera goes on that can just like come up and down.
right, right.
Yeah. So we shot it in a small studio and we needed to black out the walls. So we rented out some blackout curtains and we blacked out this it wasn't tiny, but it wasn't big. It
It's
was like
pretty
maybe
tiny. It's hard to, from the trailer, you don't get a sense of the size of the room. The room it was like think of like maybe a 1 or 2 car garage size.
I'd say it was like probably 20 feet by 20 feet at
Yeah.
most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty challenging location. Is that typical? Do you find yourself in spots like that, or was it a little unusual?
That was unusual. It was challenging. It wasn't challenging in terms of like because you were there and you knew how to do the VFX. So we knew what we could get away with and what we couldn't.
Yeah.
So the space wasn't an issue really because she's in a black void for the most part.
Yeah. So there we are. We're in a black void. We're in this little room. We've blacked out some curtains. We bring in a well. We put some mushrooms on the ground, and now it's over to you. So tell me, like, what were some of the things you did to kind of like establish the mood, to make the lighting happen like you wanted? We had talked about a kind of this weird God's son, but we hadn't really, I didn't know what it was going to look like. You came up with all that. So tell me a little bit about some of the interesting things that you came up with for the teaser.
So the funny thing is, I was in the middle of a shoot when I did your shoot.
Right, that's right.
Yeah. So all my gear was on that shoot. So we had to rent my friend's package, which I wasn't really familiar with. And this is also the first time I used the C500 Mark II. Okay. I just got that because my other camera was on the show. So it was that was the scary part for me because we were using 2 unknown factors for me. But it worked out great. So what I did was I hung a light above the whole set with a menace arm, which is I don't know what the actual term is for this thing, but the slang is a menace arm.
Okay.
Which is like a grid pipe that just hangs a light at the end.
Okay.
And that was the general space. Mm-hmm. And our god light was my friend, the gaffer Barry. It was his package. He had like I think it was a 300 watt halogen ring light, which we used, and we wanted the god fire light to be warm, so that worked out great.
Right. And do you control the temperature of it then? Does it have a temperature setting on there, or was it the bulbs set to the temperature? How did you kind of pick that look?
Yeah, the bulbs were set to that temperature, but as it dims, the temperature will change because they're halogen.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Okay.
So
Interesting.
they might get warmer as they dim down.
When you saw the teaser, I mean, there's obviously a lot of visual effects in there. We're playing around with all kinds of stuff and throwing all kinds of stuff in the background, foreground, all over the place. What did you think? Did it kind of match what you had in your head, or were you satisfied
I
with
think
it?
it was great. Yeah, I loved it. I
Yeah.
loved like you're watching on a small monitor on set, so it's
Mhm.
not the same. And then you see it on a bigger screen, and it's just the detail in the eyes and like the colors all brought up. It's it's amazing seeing all the VFX into and the sun god light come in and
Yeah.
how everything parallaxes. You shoot everything, all the elements individually, and yeah,
Came together nice.
yeah.
We've talked a little bit about the bigger shoot. Like this is all spoiler free, so I'm still mostly talking about this kind of null space, this kind of dark world that we've talked about. Um, what do you think about that for the bigger shoot? So if we have a little bit of a bigger space, a little bit more money, like what are some of the things you might want to play with in that space? What are you thinking?
Like no budget, no
Yeah, let's talk
restrictions.
no budget. Come on.
So I would love to, like, if we had a studio, I would love to get a balloon light, like a helium light.
What
So it's
a balloon light?
it's pretty much like a balloon that you fill up that's a huge softbox that you just put above.
Oh, and it would just be like this kind of like
Over it covers everything.
soft,
Yeah, exactly.
non-directional lighting all over the place.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So if we could get one of those, which we probably could actually, for
Hmm.
that void space,
Yeah.
and then the god and get a real jib because the one I had was kind of janky.
Yeah. Yeah.
I couldn't sleep the night before because I was worried that my camera it wouldn't support my camera.
I'm glad you kept all this from me. Oh, shit. No, we talked about it a little bit. Yeah, we talked about it was right on the edge.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but it worked
Um,
great on the day. It was a little.
it was a little like jiggly and stuff, but
It hung in there.
yeah, it was all right.
Yeah.
Um, what else would we want? I would want a proper crane, maybe probably.
Yeah.
Maybe for the void space we could use a stabilizer like a gimbal
Yeah.
or a Steadicam. That'd
Yeah.
be cool, just to kind of float instead of.
What's your preference as a camera op? Do you like a steady cam where you're moving around, or do you think it can look better on sticks? Does it depend on the shots on the day, or like what's your thoughts on
I
the
think it
difference between the
really,
two?
if it aids the story,
Yeah.
then yes.
Yeah.
Like we do whatever aids the story. If we need to build tension and the shot needs to be still or something,
Yep.
then sticks all the way.
All right.
It really depends on the story. Like I don't want to add a dolly just for the sake of having a dolly. It's got to have motivation behind it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Man, I have so many exciting things to shoot with you if we can make this thing happen. Dave, I want to thank you for your time, for giving us a little bit of the insight into how you shot this thing. Obviously, it looks beautiful. And I mean, that's you, man, pointing the camera at the right things and lighting it the right way. It evokes a mood like right out of the gate. And that's all because of what you brought to it. So thank you so very much.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Yeah,
I
my
will work
pleasure.
on anything you make.
Yeah. All right. All right. Let's go make it. All right. Thanks, Dave. Talk to you
All
soon.
right. Bye.
Bye.